This episode of Scott Bromley's Internet Rabbit Hole is brought to you by Loot Crate. I know this is gonna sound insane, but the NES might not have been a success in America if it wasn't for Teddy Ruxpin. It's time to jump in the Internet Rabbit Hole! So the other day, I was watching a supercut of Paul Rudd on Conan, where for the past decade, he's been bringing on the same clip from the E.T. ripoff film Mac and Me to show whenever he's promoting a movie. You know, this clip. Anyway, I of course went over to YouTube to watch more Mac and Me and got to the part where there was an impromptu dance sequence inside of a McDonald's where the kids decided to disguise the alien as one of those high-tech teddy bears from the mid-80s. You know, like a Teddy Ruxpin. Y'all remember Teddy Ruxpin, right? He was that adorable animatronic nightmare bear who would entertain kids with stories on cassettes that you would pop into his back. So then I went over to Wikipedia. No! Stop it, Frank. You know how much the audience hates that. Stop it. Anyway, I went over to Frank! So I went over to that website that is an electronic encyclopedia that begs for donations every year to find out more information about Teddy Ruxpin, which led me over to the page for the company that made it, Worlds of Wonder, who also made the talking Big Bird, Mickey Mouse, and Mother Goose, but also produced Laser Tag, which had a commercial so awesome it had to remind idiot children like myself that while it looks amazing, if you buy Laser Tag, the futuristic stadium in the commercial is not included inside the box.
Laser Tag, the game that moves at the speed of light. From Worlds of Wonder, stadium not included.
So what does Teddy Ruxpin have to do with the Nintendo Entertainment System's success in America? Well, here's where it gets interesting and a little nutty, so grab your pencil and paper if you guys want to keep up. Okay, so according to that article I was reading, there was a note saying Worlds of Wonder distributed the NES in its first few years, but that note said a citation was needed. So I turned away from the internet for a moment and opened up the Ultimate History of Video Games book, where I learned that while Nintendo's initial soft launch in New York, LA, San Francisco, and Chicago during 1985 was moderately successful, in order for the machine to be a huge success, they needed to get into stores like Sears and Toys R Us nationwide. And the only way to do that was with a partner. Now, before this time, there was a brief moment where the NES was going to be licensed as an Atari product, until Atari saw Donkey Kong running on a ColecoVision and thought they were in cahoots with the house that Cabbage Patch built. But I'll talk about that more in a second. So instead of licensing the tech, Nintendo sought a distributor, and the best distributor they could get was the company that not only had a $100 million order for Christmas of 1985 from Toys R Us, but two of the hottest toys of the mid-80s in their roster, Teddy Ruxpin and Laser Tag. And that company's name was Worlds of Wonder. Now, if a store wanted to look at any of the offerings from Worlds of Wonder, they had to look at the NES as well. And the deal worked spectacularly. Soon, the NES could be found on shelves across the country. Well, as long as a store could keep them in stock. By 1986, both companies were raking in the cash, and Worlds of Wonder was so confident in Teddy Ruxpin's continued success, they ordered boatloads of bears for holiday 1987. Which didn't sell at all. Meanwhile, Nintendo was all like, "Hey dudes, thanks for the help. We don't need you guys anymore, so we're gonna be over here doing our own thing." And Worlds of Wonder was all like, "But what are we supposed to do with all of our teddy bears?" And Nintendo was all like, "Not our problems, dudes. See ya." But the story doesn't end there, it just gets weirder. So as soon as Worlds of Wonder started laying off their entire sales force, which coincidentally were mostly ex-Atari employees, Nintendo started snatching them up to continue marketing the NES, and eventually became the gaming juggernaut we all know and love. So what happened to Worlds of Wonder? Well, before they went bankrupt, in 1987, after the deal with Nintendo fizzled, they put out Action Max, which was sort of like a video game console that used VHS tapes and a light gun. Kind of like Mattel's Captain Power line, or if you guys don't remember Captain Power, it was kind of like Sewer Shark and Night Trap on the Sega CD, which according to Wikipedia, nothing? Guess he's asleep behind the wheel. Was originally going to debut with Hasbro's canceled Nemo video game console in 1987, and those two games were created by a guy named Tom Zito, who before Sewer Shark and Night Trap developed a talking teddy bear in 1985 to rival Teddy Ruxpin called AG Bear. And AG Bear was made by a company called Axlon, a company started by the original Atari founder, Nolan Bushnell, whose old company Atari originally was going to license and market the Nintendo Entertainment System in the United States of America as a brand new Atari console. And to tie this whole thing back to Paul Rudd, because the NES was a gigantic success, it paved the way for the Super Nintendo, which launched using this commercial starring a baby-faced Paul Rudd playing F-Zero in an abandoned drive-in. And there you have it! If it wasn't for Teddy Ruxpin, the NES might not have been a success in America. Plus, while I've still got you here, and before my editor starts putting garbage on my face as payback for my displeasure with the W-word explosions, I want to tell you about Loot Crate. Loot Crate is an awesome service that delivers a themed box full of geeky pop culture goodies to your doorstep every month for just $20. Sign up today and help Rev3 Games along the way by going to lootcrate.com/Rev3Games. What were some of your favorite NES memories? Let me know about them in the comments below. And if you guys liked what you saw, share it with your friends. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. Until next time, I'm Scott Bromley saying, don't delete your internet history. Or I will create an animatronic version of myself who will come over to your house and tell you all sorts of stories you don't want to hear. Or stories that don't really make sense because you think that the title is supposed to be an absolute of what the episode about, but it's really just my journey from point A to point B and the things that got me there. Because that's what an internet rabbit hole is.